Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا بفضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. So again, if somebody could be following along from the translation of Ashbuli, I'd appreciate it, inshallah. Okay. So he says, أخبرنا ابن لهيعة. Right, just Ammar, note that down, okay? I mean, I know you're driving right now, but mentally, Ibn Lahiya, so this is of the shuyukh of Abdullah Mubarak and, of the Masriyin, and we know that the issue with Ibn Lahiya. حدثني يزيد بن أبي حبيب أن أبا الخير حدثه أن عقبة بن عامر حدثهم أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى على قتل أحد بعد 8 سنين كالمودع للأحياء والأموات. So basically 8 years after Uhud, the Prophet ﷺ went back and prayed over the people, prayed over the dead of Uhud, as if he was saying goodbye to the living and to the dead, as if he was saying goodbye to the living and the dead. ثم طلع المنبر, then he went on the minbar وقال إني بين أيديكم فرط. He says, I am going ahead of you, I am going to die before you. وأنا عليكم شهيد, and I am a witness against you. وإن موعدكم الحوض, we meet at the pool, right? After the bridge over hell, there's the pool. You go to the pool and you drink from it, and you never become thirsty ever again. وَإِنِّي لَأَنظُرُ إِلَيْهِ وَأَنَا فِي مَقَامِي هَذَا. It says that I'm actually looking at it right now. I can already see it. I can see it already. It's not something that it's not something that will exist. It already exists. And I can see it right now. وَإِنِّي لَسْتُ أَخْشَى عَلَيْكُمْ أَن تُشْرِكُوا. I am not concerned that you will do shirk. Right? That's quite important, right? So certain movement, the Wahhabi movement, the claim of the Wahhabi movement is that most Muslims have done shirk, have fallen into shirk, and they are mushrikeen, right? Whereas that's not the case. Many Muslims do bid'ah, many Muslims do things they shouldn't do, but the default is people don't do shirk. There are some Muslims who've left Islam, that's true, right? But the whole idea that most Muslims, in the world are mushrikeen, that is not true. وَإِنِّي لَسْتُ أَخْشَى عَلَيْكُمْ أَن تُشْرِكُوا. I'm not concerned that you're not worried that you will do shirk. وَلَكِنْ أَخْشَى عَلَيْكُمُ الدُّنْيَا أَن تَنَافَسُوهَا. I'm scared about the dunya, that you will vie for each other over it. Right? And that's what happened to Spain. Muslims lost Spain because vying with each other over the dunya. Right? The Muslims right now, same scenario. Right? Yusuf, you play soccer?
No.
No. Santiago, you play soccer?
Back in the day, yeah.
Back in the day. Okay. So anyway, go and play soccer in the Middle East and you'll understand. Right? Because it's a team sport, right? But if everybody wants to be what they call the la'ib, everybody wants to be the big cheese, they want to be the one who's scoring the goals, it's not going to work. Right? It takes 2 to tango. Well, it takes 11 to tango, but as a team, you have to accept, like, you're part of the big picture. You are not the big person, but everybody wants to be the big person, right? No, but there's no teamwork, right? Go and talk to sisters about polygamy. They say they don't have any problems with polygamy. The issue is it comes from a point of view of no teamwork. Like, you've just kind of like, I don't feel like you're a team with me, So if we were a team, I don't have any problems, right? But the issue is basically it's not teamwork. It doesn't work through teamwork. So everything has to be teamwork, right? We're not a team, okay? It's just, I win. It's all about me, right? My idea, my opinion, I win, right? As opposed to you're part of a bigger picture, right? قال عقبة وكانت آخر نظرة نظرتها إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. He says that this is the last time I ever saw the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. Was when he said these words. Right? I'm going to be going ahead of you. I'm a witness against you. We will meet at the pool. And I'm looking at the pool right now. And I'm not concerned that you do shirk, but I am concerned that the dunya will make you compete with each other. Right? So bab at-taqallul min ad-dunya, going without, right? So by default, if you don't care about the dunya, you will not have lots of dunya by default. Okay? That's the default. Unless you can do something with it. Right? Unless you can do something with it. Unless you can do something with a Ferrari, right? You're not going to have it. Unless you can do something with lots of money, you know, like, hey, I have savings, but I want more money. Why do you want more money? Are you going to do something with it? Yeah, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do some ibadah with it, right? So the dunya is a tool to do ibadah. That's what it's there for. Says أخبرنا قيس بن ربيع عن شمر بن عطية عن المغيرة بن سعد بن الأخرم عن أبيه عن ابن مسعود قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تتخذوا الضيعة فترغبوا في الدنيا. He says, do not buy land. Do not buy land. Don't get properties, lest you incline towards the dunya. قال وبالمدينة ما بالمدينة وبراذان ما براذان. قال ابن سعد راذان مكان بالمدينة. So I don't know what he's saying here. I think what he means is look at all these houses, right? Look at all these houses. So, you know, a very practical and spiritual thing. Do I buy a house or not? Right? So how does the Muslim look at buying a house? Who can tell me? You know, it's like a 30-year project, right? Unless you're like Ammar, who's walking around with $2 million in his pocket, right? The average person, it's like a 30-year project, right? Usually, buying a house. So how does the believer look at it? How does the believer work it out? What do you think, guys? Yusuf, to buy or not to buy? Santiago, Abdullah, Omar.
What does religion have to do with it?
Yes, say it again.
What does religion have to do with it? If you can afford one, you buy one.
Okay. So does he ask? So does he ask the question? So does he want the house so that he owns a house?
Oh, I see. The intention.
The intention, right? Is that his motive? Like, right? Or for example, let's say classic Yemeni, right? The classic Yemeni doesn't feel comfortable. Like a lot of Arabs, they don't feel comfortable not owning houses, right?
Yeah.
So they feel like you're not stable, right? You don't feel stable. So you want stability for yourself / your kids, right? That's what we're trying to get. Like, I want stability for myself and my kids. But is that called dunya or not?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? You think that's akhirah?
I mean, stability could be important for the akhirah.
Okay, it could be, but could it also not be? It could also not be, right?
Dunya.
Right? So it could be dunya, it could not be dunya, right? So if it's like in and of itself, all I want is I want to be able to stay in one place and not leave. All I want is that my kids don't have to leave the house. That is dunya. Because that's all it is. Like, so let's say, for example, like even let's say I don't want to be bombed. That's also called dunya. Like, I don't want to be bombed. Why? That's called dunya. As opposed to, I don't want to be bombed because Allah doesn't want me to die for no reason. Right? Can you see the difference? There's a big difference. So the believer says, I'm trying to get stability for myself and for my kids, so that if I die, this is what Allah wants me to do. So you ask the question, does Allah want me to do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, does Allah want me to do that? So let's take another example, right? So Yusuf, you are from Morocco, correct?
Who? Well, yeah.
Morocco, okay? You reminded me, Yusuf. There's a guy. His wife had an accident, and he takes her to the hospital, and he says, "Hey, do you remember me?" She's like, "No." She's like, "Okay, don't worry," and just walks off. like my wife. Second wife. Oh, so anyway, so now do you think here's a question. So Yusuf, for example, he goes to Morocco. Okay, before he goes to Morocco, he buys a ticket. He gives all his money away. He arrives in Morocco and he has nothing. Like you arrive in the airport, you do not have the money to get in a taxi to go to your in-law's house. You don't have money to buy anything. There's nothing to buy, right? Do you think that's what Allah wants you to do? Like you have nothing with you,
No.
right? So there's a difference between I can't turn up with no money because I wouldn't be able to buy anything. I can't turn up with no money because it would be embarrassing, right? Versus, hang on a minute, I am responsible before Allah to look after this lady. I can't just turn up with nothing, can I?
Mm.
But there's a big difference between amana before Allah versus, oh, it would be embarrassing. I wouldn't like it. I would feel uncomfortable, right? I don't want that to happen, right? So there's two different things, right? They're two totally different things. So why you buy, so now, so the believer says, I'm going to die today, right? So now, for example, you're going to spend the next 3 hours researching houses to buy in your area, and you're going to die while doing that. And I say, are you happy doing that? Yes, I am. Okay, cool. Like yesterday, for example, I spent about 2 hours working out, what was it? A virtual mailbox. Okay, so you ask me, say, Fareed, is that akhirah or is that dunya? He said, no, it's akhirah. Okay, why? Because like there's things that I need to do for the sake of Allah, which need me to deal with post and mailing in America, right? And I'm in Malaysia. So the question is, when the person of the dunya wants to see their kids having stability, or wants them to have stability, or wants them to have the house itself. I want to own a house itself. The person, the akhirah, is happy to die in the process. I have no problem. Like we never move in the house, not a problem. Like we're all gonna have a car crash tomorrow. I'm not gonna be alive. This whole 18 people, me and my kids and my grandchildren, I'm trying to get this house with these 18 people, we're all gonna be dead tomorrow anyway, it's not a problem. Right? But the issue is Allah, I'm worshipping Allah by giving stability to my family, right? And this is something that Allah wants, and that's why I'm doing it. So it's a very different thing, right? The when you deal with the dunya, it's like making wudu. Whether I die before I pray is fairly irrelevant, right? You're making wudu in order to go to Jum'ah. Whether you die before you get in the car, it doesn't matter. Your niyyah was there. Whether you died on the way to Jum'ah, alhamdulillah, you died on the way to Jum'ah, right? Alhamdulillah, right? So the same thing, you died on the way to the bank. It should be the same thing. Why are we going to the bank? Well, this is Islamic bank. I'm getting doing it in Islamic way. Da, 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 da. You spent like a long time, like 80 hours, 200 hours doing this whole thing about buying a house. It took time and energy, and it's a huge sacrifice. And all the work now, all of those hours, but you're very, very happy. Whenever you paid the installments, this is sadaqah, right? You did it for the sake of Allah. You bought the house for the sake of Allah, right? If the house got nuked tomorrow, no problem, because you weren't buying the house, you were doing the amal, right? So you don't care if the house doesn't exist tomorrow. That's irrelevant. You care that did I have ikhlas? When I signed the contract, did I have ikhlas? Did I have the right intention? When I'm working now to pay this thing off, am I doing it for the sake of Allah? That's what you're interested in. You're interested in the amal. So the person of the akhirah looks at a house vis-a-vis amal. What amal can I do with the house that I can't do without the house? And then buying the house is amal. As opposed to the person of the dunya is you look at kids vis-a-vis as kids in terms of kids. You want what's it called? You look at a car as a car. You look at as an object, money as a money, as opposed to what can I do with that? Does that make sense? So Yusuf, for example, doesn't give all of his money away, and he arrives in Morocco with money to spend there and to come back and to pay the rent when he comes back and to pay this and pay that because he worships Allah and Allah wants him to do it. It's very different to the kafir who is being responsible. There's two totally different worlds, right? Yusuf doesn't care. He turns up and none of his cards work, right? None of the cards work in Morocco. Or he gets robbed. It doesn't matter that he wasn't saving money. He wasn't saving money for that sake, right? that's not the thing. He sent $10,000 to his friend in Yemen, okay, and it all got frozen and it's stuck in some random bank account, or like it's just frozen. Like he can't access it in America, and the money never arrived. He didn't do it for the. He's not trying to save the kids. Allah will save the kids. He's not interested in it. Just do it for the sake of Allah. He made organization. He sent the money. Whatever that was targeted by some other government thing. They froze it. So it's just like stuck there, and he's just like spending money with lawyers trying to get it sent or whatever. That's irrelevant, right? So we're not interested in things. We're interested in amal, right? And this is again, so many people make. I have it spawn right now. Here we go. I have this book. I have this book on my desk all the time. Le Petit Prince, right? The Little Prince. Here we go. Just open the book. There's a guy counting, like somebody who's counting stars, right? Guy who owns all the stars in the universe, right? So the Little Prince says, he says, million of what? And the businessman says, oh, I own 1,000,000 stars. So then the Little Prince asks him, what do you do with the 1,000,000 stars that you own? And then the Little Prince asks him, you're a businessman and you own all the stars in the universe. He said, I was just on another planet and there was a king who ruled it. So the businessman said, no, the king rules the universe. I own the universe. So he says, what do you do with the universe that you own? Nothing. He just counts them, right? So you just want it because you want it, as opposed to you want it because of the good deeds. Okay. Not to be picky, right? But Yusuf, for example, the classic Yemeni family with 20,000 kids, right?
Oh, yeah.
Correct. What do you do with these 20,000 kids? Do you sit with them and teach them Quran? No. Do you sit with them, spend time with them, talk to them about how was school and help them homework? No. You just have kids. Like it's just an achievement, right? You have 20 kids. Like that's an achievement in itself. No, it's not. So if your kids aren't ibadah, then you don't have kids. Right? You don't have kids. You're the same as somebody who doesn't have any children. You're the same. Right? If you don't turn your kids, if your wife is not ibadah, right? Meaning she was rude to you and you forgave her, then you're not married. You might be married technically, but you don't have it's an opportunity, right? Opportunity to be patient, opportunity to be nice, opportunity to forgive, opportunity. That's what it is, right? That's what you don't have it. If you have $1 million, but you can't access it, then you don't have it. So that's how we look at things. So you say, if I owned a house, what ibadah could I do that I couldn't do otherwise? Right? That's the question you ask. Should I buy a house? Should I not buy a house? Okay, should I buy another car? What ibadah could I do if I had a house that I couldn't do if I didn't have a house? So if I rent, what ibadah is being stopped? That's the question you ask yourself. So ibadah, okay? So now you say, yeah, I should buy, right? Okay, let's think about things like, so here's a question, for example, when I was in California, right? When I was in California, I was thinking about, hang on a minute, I am now in California, okay? California is very expensive, so I don't have a choice of what I do with my time. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't teach what I want to teach. I have to do what makes money. So in California, what was I doing? I was basically a professional clown, I was, you do like stories with little kids, songs with little kids. That's what you do, right? Khutbahs, these kind of things. But you can't do ilm, like you can't do secret knowledge proper, right? It's very difficult. So I don't have freedom. So I'm thinking to myself, I don't have the time and the freedom to do the ibadah that I want to do, which is actually teach. So I was thinking, you know what? If I stay like this, okay, another 30 years, right? So let's say I'm 35 and I'm in California. I stay here another 30 years, I will actually be in the same situation because I'm going to be 65. I'm going to have less energy. And so I will not be able to teach. So for me, I started looking into buying a house, right? I wasn't able to buy a house, but I was looking to buy a house. Why? Because that was the logic. I was like, when I'm 65, I want to have the freedom to teach. I own my house. You know what I'm saying? Like I own my house. I don't have to pay rent. I don't have to go and do someone else's system so that no, I don't, it's not like I want to do like things that are actually useful. So that was the logic that I used, right? You know, the logic is this: what ibadah can I do, right? That's the logic that people do, as opposed to wouldn't it be nice to have a house, right? Another thing, for example, somebody says, listen, I'm gonna do, so their friend says, listen, I'm into property flipping. So yeah, let's do it. Let's borrow $100,000. Okay, let's buy some random house somewhere, work on it for a bit, flip it, sell it, 200, start the ball rolling, right? And then, hey, I actually have my own business. I have time, right? Like I knew one brother, for example, he started a business when he was like 15 or 16. By the age of like 23, 24, the business was going. He was just chilling. Like I can go on Umrah whenever I want. So he's saying by having money, I can do more ibadah. Okay, I'm gonna go make money then. Cool, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, so the way they look at the money is not whether you have money or you don't have money, is what ibadah could you do with that money? Another brother from Tajikistan. So he's from Tajikistan. He went to America, long story, did nursing school, got some money, went into business, buy one company, improve it, sell it, improve it, sell it. And then, mashallah, he was in Jordan. I was teaching him like 20, 15 years ago. He just basically retired. He's just there. He's studying, his wife's studying. It's just great. And he said, you know what? He said, you know what I did? He says, he said, once I was in America, I said, I need to go back to Tajikistan post-COVID, and I want to teach them. But I need charity. So he's going to America and trying to get charity. I need to get funding for this thing. And then he realized, to heck with charity. I'm going to fund this myself. Because if I need to be funded by the Tajikistani government, they're going to put their fingers in it and hands with it, and they're going to mess it up. So he said, no, I'm going to go back to America, make money. So focusing on business. Why? So that I can run my own da'wah center, private, nobody messes with me in Tajikistan. That's what he was doing. And then he says, you know what? I also have to study so that I can teach, or study that I at least know how it works. You know what I'm saying? So everything is all about making big bucks to guide people. Very clever thing to do, right? Somebody very close to to Yusuf, right? Same thing. If you gave him a big wad of cash 10 years ago, maybe, right? Yusuf, say, hey, you have your own center, own rules. Like, fantastic. It's not about me and my money and my own rules and my system, but yeah, I can now do my own thing. Right? One of my teachers, Sheikh Akram Abdul Wahab, he used to pay his students. He used to pay his students a part-time salary. I would love to do that. So would you say, Freed, would you like money? Say, no, I don't want a lot of money. I want a ridiculous amount of money. Why? Because I have a lot of projects to do. I have like ridiculous amount of projects to do. So yeah, if someone's like, hey, want $1 million? Yeah, give me $1 billion. Because then I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, do this. But the way you look at the money, do you want money for the sake of money, or do you want money as a tool? A cup of coffee, right? You just like coffee because it's coffee. You like coffee because it keeps you awake. Okay, why do you want to be awake? So that I can teach. Okay, why do you want to teach? Amal, right? So you translate every single thing for the believer is sold for akhirah currency. What's the point of Bitcoin if you can't sell it for $1? What's the point of dollar if you can't buy anything with it? Same thing. If you had $1 gazillion in Bitcoin and you can't convert it because they canceled it, it's not valid anymore. Meaningless, right? So that's how we look at it. Vis-a-vis conversion. How can I convert this? What amal can I convert this into? Does that make sense? So buy a house or don't buy a house. Buy a Ferrari or don't buy a Ferrari. Spend $500 on your nails. Do whatever you want to do, as long as you be happy to die before you ever reap the worldly profits of it. Like, you want to spend $10 on a cup of coffee. Only do it if you pay, sit down, and die before it ever arrives. And you'd be happy to die like that. Does that make sense? That means you're doing it for the akhirah. Like, it's not like, oh man, I never got my coffee. You know what I'm saying? Because like I didn't buy the coffee for the sake of the coffee. I bought the coffee as an ibadah, so it cost $10, a $10 cup of coffee. I'm very happy that was sadaqah, and I died before I ever drank it. So you buy a house when you're happy to die before you ever live in it. You're happy for it to be nuked. You get married. If you marry somebody, you're happy to die before you ever with that person. You get pregnant and have children for the sake of Allah, meaning you're happy to die before you ever give birth. You didn't have children for the sake of having children. In your intention was this. This whole thing from the get-go is ibadah. Various different forms of ibadah, right? That's your intentions, how you see things, right? And that's going to change the way you do things, right? Usually you're not going to buy a $10 coffee, are you? Like, why? You're not going to have a Ferrari then, because it's quite difficult. There isn't much ibadah that you can do with a Ferrari that you couldn't do with a Toyota Corolla. There isn't much ibadah that you can do with a brand new Toyota Corolla that you can't do with a 5-year-old Toyota Corolla, right? 5-year-old Toyota Corolla, Toyota 5, 10, even 10, right? It's fantastic, right? There's not much you can do. Like, a 2016 Toyota Corolla, fantastic car, right? It's not much difference to anything else. So therefore, you're going to do taqallub. So that's how the Sahaba like, what ibadah can I do with it? If I can't do any ibadah with it, I don't need it. Does that make sense? Power. If you became the Prime Minister of the United States, the President of the United States of America, what ibadah could you do? Nothing. Okay, then don't try and become the president then. You say, what do you mean nothing? I could do this, I could do that. Okay, go ahead. Get in politics, try and run for president. Why not? So why do you want power? Power is bad. Power is not bad if it's sought for a good reason. Knowledge. Why do you want knowledge? Right? What do you want to be healthy? Right? What ibadah could you do? Right? Like, so you're spending all this time on healthy food. You spend all this time exercising. You go for a walk. You do this. You do that. Why? What ibadah can you do by having a healthy body that you can't do with an unhealthy body? That's the question you ask. Is it deen or dunya? So for the person who is seeing it as amal does not care how they actually look in reality. They might want to try and look nice because they can do ibadah with a nice looking body, right? That they couldn't do otherwise. They could do ibadah with a healthy body that they couldn't do otherwise, but they don't actually care about looking nice and they don't actually care about being healthy. They might be getting worse, They might be getting worse. So they say, for example, like, exercise, being very healthy is one of the best ways to save yourself from cancer. So this person, he's like, he got over cancer once and he's like, that's it. I'm going to really, make sure that my immune system is very strong and really work on, and they get cancer again within 6 weeks, within 6 months. That's not the point. The point is, why did you do these things? The time that you spent and the energy and all these things, why did you do that? And would you be happy to die before you reaped the worldly benefits? Yes, that's for the akhirah. Does that make sense? I bought a $10,000 ring for her, and then she cheated on me. Well, I don't care. I didn't marry her. I didn't marry her. I just did something for the sake of Allah, right? You don't do things for people. I took him swimming 18,000 times. It took me ages. There was traffic. There was this. Why did you take him swimming? Your kid, for example. Why did you take him swimming? So that he's happy. Why do you want to make him happy? So that he's happy. That's called dunya, habibi. You wasted your life chasing people, chasing goals, chasing this and that. There's one goal, which is Allah and the akhirah. That's it. So you're happy. Would you be happy to take a kid swimming, knowing that he's going to die before he's even good at swimming? Knowing that you did it so that he's happy, so that he's a strong Muslim. No, would you still do it if you knew that he would leave Islam? Yeah, because you did it for the sake of Allah. So yeah, Allah, you gave me children. I put effort. I gave my sweat, blood, and tears for your sake, oh Allah, to guide the children. Whether they're actually guided, it's irrelevant. Whether they're actually happy, that's irrelevant. Whether they're actually healthy, irrelevant. I'm not interested in the results. I'm interested in this vis-a-vis it being an amal. So buy whatever you're going to buy as long as it's amal, right? May Allah protect us. Make sense, everybody, inshallah? So this is the problem then with adverts. The advert does not do that, right? An advert is there to make you want the car because it's cool. To make you like, here's, for example, an attractive woman. She's attractive. I want to look attractive. I want to go to the gym to be attractive, right? Here's this food. There's this woman, she's eating it. She looks really, she has an amazing body. I want to eat this food to have amazing body. So it's like make you love the dunya. So this problem is, that in business that, or like marketing, we talk about generic marketing, specific marketing, right? So like generic marketing is like, try and get Americans to buy more milk, right? Or try and get British people to buy British products, right? That's like generic marketing. So the problem with marketing is it's generic marketing for the dunya. Like, I want you to love the dunya itself. But it's not a very good marketing if you're telling people don't buy excess, don't buy things for the sake of themselves. Like, you're not a very good consumer, are you? Like, the Zahid is not a very good consumer, right? So consumerism and the world of consumerism and the market media that we see, television, advertisements, all these things, it's all generic. It's all generic marketing for the love of the dunya itself, right? Win the war for the sake of winning the war itself. Look good for the sake of looking good itself. Get money for the sake of money itself. Be cool for the sake of being cool itself. These are all problematic, right? These are all basically, so that's why it's all a shaitan. It's all satanic because somebody making you love the dunya, that's a shaitan, right? Man, what is it? Man dallaka ala dunya faqad khanak. Whoever turned you in the direction of the dunya, faqad khanak. He stabbed you in the back. وَمَنْ دَلَّكَ عَلَى عَمَلٍ فَقَدْ أَتْعَبَكَ. And whoever guides you in the direction of good deeds, he's made your life very, very weary and difficult. وَمَنْ دَلَّكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَقَدْ نَصَحَكَ. Somebody who tells you Allah himself. Because even deeds become goals. People like do deeds for the sake of deeds. So don't do deeds for the sake of deeds. Do deeds for the sake of Allah. You bought the money, you bought the house, you work 9 to 5, you have an 80-hour shift, you commute 2 hours there, 2 hours back, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Man dallaka ala Allahi faqad nasahak. Right? He who points you, who guides you towards Allah himself. Right? For all this myriad of various emotions and goals, Allah himself, faqad nasahak. That's your buddy, that's your friend. فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ إِنِّي لَكُمْ مِنْهُ نَاصِحٌ أَمِينٌ. Right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Ammar. Right? فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ. Run away from every single thing else and run to Allah. فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ. Right? Very ajib ayah, right? Run away from every single thing and run to Allah. فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ إِنِّي لَكُمْ مِنْهُ نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. Right? I am an open warner. I'm not hiding anything. And I have nothing to gain. Some scholars are saying Nadhir Mubin means a warner that takes all their clothes off. So meaning I'm exposing myself. I'm not winning here. Like, I'm not trying to be like, look at me, I look like an idiot. Do you think I would do this for no reason? Nadhir Mubin says, look, they're like, oh, there's an army coming. Yeah, bro, whatever. So look, do you think I took all my clothes off? I'm standing here totally naked for no reason? They say, no, I don't think you're doing that. Okay, that's what's happening. I'm not gaining here. I'm embarrassing myself doing this. Right? Inni lakum minhu nadhirun mubin. I'm a warner. Right? So this is what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. The class. Why are you in the class? Right? If you're not in the class for the sake of Allah, get out of the class. I used to tell my kids that grade 8, grade 9 students, said, boys and girls, if there is anything that is more beloved to Allah for you to do right now, then for God's sake, go and do it. Do not be in the class. They're like, what? We can leave? So yeah, you can leave. What's the point of being in the class if there's something else that's more beloved to Allah than being in the class? Right? Honestly. Right? And this is the problem with sacred knowledge. Most of the time, sacred knowledge becomes nafs. I remember 100%. I used to just listen to stuff just because it's like, just entertainment. It's entertainment. Like I like the way the sheikh sounds. It's entertaining, right? As opposed to it's awkward. Like I was a TA for Sheikh Yahya for a bit at Seeker's Guidance. That was awkward, right? You listen to his talk, you don't. It's not entertaining. It's awkward. Like you feel like, ah, man, you know, so that you don't feel good after it. You feel awkward after it. That's knowledge, as opposed to, oh, that was so entertaining, right? He speaks so well, you know. So that's not deen, right? That's called entertainment or edutainment. Okay. أخبرنا يونس بن يزيد عن الزهري أن عبد الله بن سعدي كان يحدث وهو رجل من بني عامر بن لؤي وكان من أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال بينما أنا نائم أوفيت على جبل. I went to the top of a mountain. فبينما أنا عليه طلعت لي ثلة من هذه الأمة قد سدت الأفق. So he says, while I was asleep, I had a dream, and I went at the top of a mountain, and there was this group of this ummah who had filled the horizons. حتى إذا دنوا مني دفعت عليهم الشعاب بكل زهرة من الدنيا. So when they came close to me, every single what's it called? Every single like ravine, every single place where they walked through the mountains, the flowers would come out to them. من الدنيا فمروا ولم يلتفت إليها منهم راكب. Right? So what happened is that as they're coming towards me and walking in this mountain, all the flowers are sticking out to them, and they're not looking at the flowers. فلما جاوزوها خلصت, or right, when this flower, when they walk past it, the flower would shrink. خلصت الشعاب بما فيها. It would become tight and narrow, and there's nothing there anymore, no more flowers. فلبثت ما شاء الله أن ألبث, and so I stayed like that. ثم طلعت ثلة علي مثلها حتى إذا بلغوا مبلغ الثلة الأولى. Right? So then he said another huge throng, a huge group of this ummah came to this valley again. And there's a large group of people. دفعت عليهم الشعاب بكل زهرة من الدنيا. The same thing. All the ravines and the whole mountains around them kind of pushed flowers towards them, and right. قال فالآخذ والتارك. And then he said some of these people were taking the flowers and some of them were leaving the flowers. وهم على ظهر. Huh? While they were on the top of this thing, I'm not sure how does it translate it? وهم على ظهر. They are on the top of this thing. Right. I'm not sure on the top. حتى إذا جاوزوها قلصت الشعاب بما فيها. So then what happened? They passed, this group of people passed by, and some of them took the flowers, some of them didn't, and then they moved on, and everything became dry and normal again. فلبثت ما شاء الله ثم طلعت الثلة الثالثة, and then another huge group of people came. حتى إذا بلغوا مبلغ الثلتين, they came to the same place that the other people came to. دفعت الشعاب بكل زهرة من الدنيا فأناخ أول راكب فلم يجاوزه راكب. Right? So then they came, and they didn't pass through the ravine. They didn't pass through the mountains. They just stopped there. The very first one, أناخ بعيره, he tied his camel down. So this is where we're going to stay. I love the dunya. Fantastic place. They did not go beyond. Right? فنزلوا يهتالون من الدنيا. Right? How do you translate it? يهتالون? From the word hole. Hole is like terror. How did you translate it? يهتالون. اهتال. اهتال. فزع. No, that's from the word hole. Mm. I can't find it here. I'm finding ihtala means to be scared. That's what I'm finding. How does she translate it, guys? Can anybody see? Nobody has a translation? فَنَزَلُوا يَهْتَالُونَ dismounted. So nazalu is that they dismounted, but yahtaluna, it should be something like what it might be is that they might find it amazing. Like maybe it's like that, like they found it amazing. Yahtaluna, like they've like raqam ha'il means not terrifying number, but like amazing, something like that. To amass these world again, something like that. Allahu alam. So basically, they didn't do what they're supposed to do. You're supposed to pass through and ignore the flowers. So group number one, they passed through and they ignored the flowers. The second group, they passed through, but some of them took the flowers, some of them didn't. These guys, they just stopped. They're like, go on the nice flowers. Like stop in the middle of the mountain pass. You're on a journey, Habibi. You're on a journey. This is not your place. فَنَزَلُوا يَهْتَالُونَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا فَعَهْدِي بِالْقَوْمِ. He says, as far as I remember them, the last thing I saw them doing, يَهْتَالُونَ وَقَدْ ذَهَبَتْ الرِّكَابِ. Right? He says, the last thing I remember them doing is that they were still doing that. وَقَدْ ذَهَبَتْ الرِّكَابِ. And those people have gone. The horses had gone, something like that, right? The horses and camels have gone. So they're just there amassing things, and then there's no ability to even go forward. Right? Because they just sat there. Right? So this is the problem. Right? This is the problem, is that this is what Muslims do. Right? We're just there for the dunya. So we have to be, there's nothing wrong with making a ridiculous amount of money. May Allah give us all salaries of $1 billion a month. Ameen. But the issue is it's in your hand and it's not in your heart. You don't care whether it comes or goes because you're not interested in itself. Right? فَنَزَلُوا يَهْتَالُونَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. Right? فَأَحْدِي بِالْقَوْمِ يَهْتَالُونَ. As far the last thing is وَقَدْ ذَهَبَتْ الرِّكَابِ. Right? And as that how she translates it, and the horses, their mounts had gone. ذهبت الركاب, like خلاص, there's no more, their camels / horses had gone on, and they're just there amassing the dunya, and they have now no ability to go ahead. That's it. Does that make sense? Is that what you have in your translation, guys? Is anybody following? Is Sham here? No. Wallahu a'lam. Sometimes this book is very old, and it's not all of these things are very famous. So sometimes you don't actually find these anywhere else. So here it explains it. He says, وَمَعْنَاهُ وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ إشارة أن الجيل الأول, the first generation, لم يلتفت إلى زهرة الدنيا ولم يغتر بها. The first generation did not care about the dunya. ثم يأتي بعد ذلك جيل فمنهم من يغتر بزينتها ومنهم من لا يغتر. Some yes, some no. ثم يأتي بعد ذلك جيل يفتتن بها وقد يراد بالجيل القرن. Right? It could be a whole generation or whatever it is. Wallahu alam. That's the whole point of that thing, right? So we have to, you go through the dunya, but you don't care about these things. You're not interested in things. Whenever you start, so, and here's another sign of hubb dunya, is that you want the thing to remain. Right? I wish my health would remain. I wish my looks would remain. I wish the money that I have, right? I just got some money. Like, it's just nice to like not lose it, you know? Whereas the believer's not like that. The believer is like, how can I invest the money that I have in good deeds, right? And saving money is very tricky. Like, you have to save money and you also have to not save money. So it's a bit tricky, right? It's a bit of a tricky thing to do, particularly as a man. Like, it's not very clever. Like, you're a man, you have like zero money, you know? Like, what's going to happen tomorrow? Something comes up, you're always going to, I mean, you can borrow, but it's not ideal, right? The Prophet ﷺ, he actually, so the Prophet ﷺ died in debt, right? But it was not debt in the sense he had, but it was collateral, right? So he borrowed wheat, okay, to feed his family, and he left the shield with the Jewish man as collateral. And notice with the Jewish man, he didn't want to have anybody like give it to him in sadaqah, you know? So it's like he knows that. So he actually had assets, you know? He owned his houses, right? He owned his houses. They're very, very small. He did own his house, not renting, right? And you know, the money that he had to borrow, he had assets to give, right? So like, oh man, I have to, you know, do these things. So, you know, doesn't mean, so it's not like he had no money, right? And the Prophet ﷺ would save would have enough wheat for the year. And sometimes, and often it would run out. But the point is, he's not living month to month in reality. But he is living an extremely simple life, right? So there was a question again, like, you know, if the Prophet ﷺ lived in California, would he live in an RV? Right? You know what an RV is, Santiago? Shaham? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's a question. So like, you know, you say, for example, man, it's so expensive to live in California. Yeah, that's because you live in a house. Why do you live in a house? You know, if you lived in an RV, it's like way cheaper. You know,
Sorry, I don't know what was RV. I thought you said
an RV is like a caravan.
oh, RV. Yeah. I know what.
RV, yeah. So many people are like, life is so expensive. Yeah, that's because you've chosen to live an expensive life. So you chose to live an expensive life, and then you had to get a job, and then you had to commute. So you're working 80-hour weeks in order to keep this expensive life going. But what ibadah you do with that expensive life? You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you can even look at like just the numbers. Like, I chose to live in a house like this, therefore I work like this, therefore I can't pay tahajjud. Like, oh my God. Like, if you just, you know, or living in a different country, right? Like, you know, one thing that's quite clever, I think, you know, when I look at Yemenis, for example, again, in Bay Area, there's a lot of Yemenis. I think it's quite a clever thing to do is you work in California, right? And then you buy in Yemen, and then you retire and do ibadah. That like makes a lot of sense, right? So you're 20-year-old, go and work in the States, amass money, buy a house in Yemen, and live in Yemen and do ibadah for the rest of your life. But unfortunately, the opposite happens. So I remember there was a brother from Palestine. He said, this is what you see. They come from Palestine, get American passports, work in Chicago 120 hours a week, right? Unfortunately, often in liquor stores, buy castles, okay, in the West Bank. Like, it's huge. He said, to go and look at some of these houses, like, forget what's happening. The fact that it's kind of insane. What's happening in Palestine? This is Palestine itself. You'd imagine there's kind of like, khalas, you don't care about the dunya, right? But like he said, they're gonna have this house, but they don't even enjoy it. So they don't even have it. They have a house in Palestine that but they're never there. This house is huge. And they're just there working in the gas station 120 hours a week. You know? So they actually have like tons of money. And they have big houses, but they never enjoy them. So they've lost the dunya and the akhirah. You know, as opposed to like, you know, clever system. I knew some, you know, one brother did that. You know, he worked in the States for a bit, and then he's like, yeah, basically retire at 35. Wouldn't that be great? Retire at 35, dedicate yourself to ilm, ibadah, right? So the question again is the money. What ibadah can you do with the money? That's the question. When you ask the question, I want money to do ibadah, that is not dunya. That's akhirah, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. So you're in Sri Lanka, right, Shehum?
Yeah. So my example was I could get a US job, right? Which pays like 2000.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I need to work like from Isha time to Fajr time, right? Which would kind of like completely disrupt a lot of things.
Yeah. So let's think about it in terms of akhirah. So now you're thinking about, okay, I'm going to do this job, okay, and now by doing this job, I can retire in 5 years. Okay, so what are you going to do after when you retire? I'm going to become a Pokemon collector. It's like, are you serious? Like, what are you going to do? I'm gonna play computer games. I'm gonna just talk to my friends. No, you're saying I actually want to do ibadah, and in order to do ibadah, I'm gonna get a job, and then I can actually in Sri Lanka I can actually pay off a house, and then I could work 3 hours a day for the rest of my life. Right? It's a good idea. But so now the question is, now you start the job, right? And you're saying, why are you doing this job now? So that I can do more ibadah, right? That's like saying I want to go and go and do Uber in California so that I can go on Hajj or go on Umrah. Why not? Or I want to buy a book, like books are expensive. I have lots of books, they're very expensive, you know. So like buying books is expensive. So you say, why are you working? Oh, so I can buy a book. Okay, why are you buying the book? So that preserve knowledge. Amal. You do these things in amal, right? So as long as you're interested in terms of it as amal, then it is not dunya, it's akhirah. The issue is that's not how it works. Go to America, go to the Bay Area, for example. That's what happened. Everyone's just like, there was one brother, he owned 3 houses in California. And I said, why don't you send your kids to Islamic schools? That was too expensive. Right? So you can imagine Shayham, right? Think about a house in California, $1 million plus. Right? So this person has assets of $1 million. He's working as well. He has assets of $3 million. And you say, why don't you send your kids to an Islamic school? He says, no, it's expensive. So he's lost it. You know what I'm saying? Like you've lost the plot. Like surely you work in order to send your kids to a good environment. I don't want my kids to be exposed to bad things. That's amal, right? That's guiding your kids. But he's lost, right? Guy's lost. Or you're doing the haram. I'm working in a liquor store, for example. What are you doing? What's the point? I have to take my hijab off so that I get married. Okay, why do you want to get married? Well, for the sake of Allah. It's impossible, right? No one's going to notice me if I wear hijab. And I'll never get married. And it's sunnah to get married. So I'm taking my hijab off as a sunnah. Habibti, you're not. You're lost, right? You do things for the sake of Allah. If you do something for the sake of Allah, it's never going to be haram. You're never going to do something haram. You're going to look at the mubah. And of the mubah, you're going to choose which of the mubah is connected to the akhirah. That's what you're going to do. Right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right. Okay, inshallah, we'll stop here. Yeah, inshallah, we'll stop here. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sallam. So if somebody could just look into that, maybe Yusuf as well. Why is it this PDF I can't save? I can't put a
I'm not sure. I downloaded it too, and it was
Same
on.
thing?
It was happening to me. Yeah. I don't know.
I sent a link in the chat. I have no idea if that's the issue, but
Okay, khair, inshallah. Okay. And this one like getting like thing with kids, right? This is a classic thing with kids. Like parents do this. Mom and dad are too busy to spend time with kids. So what does that mean? That means you don't have kids. That's what it means. That's what it means. It means you don't have kids. I had that funny example that with my cats. It's like I have a cat, but I never see it because I'm too busy. So you don't have a cat then, do you? Right. You have a house. I have a mansion in Sri Lanka, right? And Shayham lives in it. That means he has it, I don't, right? And he's like, look, you have this huge house, this mansion. It's like, $5 million mansion, huge gardens, all the things, but I don't live in it. That means I don't have it, right? So if you can't turn something in your life into ibadah, that means you don't have ibadah, you don't have it. A woman who's very attractive and she can't turn her body into ibadah, she uses it for the haram, she walks in the street and everybody can see her. She doesn't have it, that means she's not beautiful. She doesn't have a body. She has no rizq. Somebody who's clever, but they don't use their intelligence to do ibadah, they're not clever. They don't have anything. Somebody has money, but they don't use their money for ibadah. Somebody who has power, but they don't use their power for it, but that means they're not powerful. It means you don't actually have anything, right? I remember when I first came to Malaysia, the issue of getting money, like they won't accept foreign cards. So I could be a billionaire. You can't use your card. Sorry. That means you don't have any money, do you? If you can't access your money, then you don't have any money, right? You're a trillionaire, and the dollars, we don't accept dollars anymore. That means you don't have anything. You have $1 trillion, but if we don't accept the dollars, then you don't have anything. So that's what interesting. Continually shift. Can I shift my time and capabilities and opportunities into good deeds? That's what we're trying to do. Continually cash in, continually convert time, money, efforts, abilities, energy, convert it into deeds. Arguments. One of the best thing in the world. Somebody's rude to you. Fantastic opportunity. What did you do? You got angry and upset. So you got angry and upset, and then you were distracted in your prayer. That's the dumbest thing in the world, right? Somebody insults you, perfect opportunity for good deeds. Excellent opportunity for good deeds, right? Fantastic. But what did we do? You sold that opportunity for nothing. You turned it into the haram. They insulted you, so insulted them back, right? And then you got really angry, and then when you're praying dhuhr, you couldn't focus, and they didn't even go to the masjid because you're like, I can't even focus like this, right? So this is what we do, is we take golden opportunities and we throw them away for nothing. May Allah forgive us all and give us basira, insight, and the proper way of looking at things. And the dunya is not really money most of the time. Most of the time is free time, right? Free time, opportunities, etc. And and the screen is a big temptation. Big temptation. Very, very easy to waste so many opportunities with the screen. May Allah protect us all. We'll stop here. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi sallam. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.